You are currently living a life that isn't yours, fueled by thoughts you didn't choose, and you're beginning to suspect the person staring back in the mirror is a well-crafted imitation. Every decision you've made this week was likely a reaction to a script written by someone who views your mind as a resource to be harvested. If you don't find the break in the cycle now, you will eventually wake up at 60, realizing you were never the protagonist of your own story, just a highly efficient piece of furniture in someone else's. The only thing standing between you and that silent erasure is a ladder of intelligence you didn't even know existed. Do you actually think, or are you just hearing the echo of the room? It begins with the quiet realization that your mind is crowded. Most people spend their entire lives in the first level of intelligence, the stage of reflexive mimicry. At this level, you are a mirror. You find yourself adopting the cadence of your friends, the outrage of the news cycle, and the desires of the advertisements that populate your periphery. There is a comfort here, a warmth in the herd. But as you sit in the silence of your own room, a friction begins to develop. You notice that your opinions feel like borrowed clothes. They fit well enough, but they don't belong to you. This is the first crack in the shell. You start to see that the world isn't built of truths, but of consensus. As the tension grows, you move into the second level, the recognition of the script. You begin to see the invisible wires. You notice how conversations follow predictable loops and how your own reactions are triggered by specific keywords. It's an unsettling phase. You feel like a ghost in a machine you thought you owned. You realize that most of what you call intelligence is actually just high-speed pattern matching. You aren't solving problems, you are just reciting answers you were taught to give. The weight of this realization is heavy. It creates a distance between you and the people around you. You start to wonder if everyone is in on a joke that you've only just stopped laughing at. This is where the thinkers begin to drift away from the pawns, not through ego, but through a sudden, cold clarity. By the third level, the fragmentation of identity, the internal collapse begins. You try to find the real you beneath the layers of social programming, and you find nothing, just a series of habits and defenses. This is the dark night of the intellectual soul. You realize that your personality is largely a survival mechanism designed to keep you integrated into the collective. The intelligence required here isn't mathematical or linguistic. It is the brutal capacity to witness your own non-existence. You are no longer a solid object. You are a process. And for the first time, you feel the terrifying freedom of knowing that if you are nothing, you can be anything. But that freedom feels like falling. As you descend deeper into the fourth level, subsurface extraction, you stop listening to what people say and start listening to why they say it. You develop an ear for the frequency of fear and the hum of insecurity beneath every logical argument. You see the world as a series of power dynamics disguised as moralities. This level of intelligence is lonely. You see the pawns around you, friends, family, colleagues, clutching their beliefs like life rafts, unaware that the rafts are anchored to a sinking ship. You want to scream to wake them up, but you realize that their comfort depends on their blindness. To see the world this clearly is to lose the ability to participate in its polite fictions. The fifth level, the calculus of paradox, is where the binary of right and wrong finally dissolves. You begin to hold two opposing truths in your mind, simultaneously, without the desperate need to choose between them. You understand that every solution creates a new problem, and that every light casts a shadow proportional to its brightness. Most people's intelligence is a weapon used to win arguments. Yours becomes a tool used to map the complexity of the void. You are no longer looking for the answer. You are looking for the right question, even if that question is a jagged piece of glass that cuts your hands. When you reach the sixth level, temporal dissociation, your relationship with time shifts. You see the present not as a destination, but as the thin, vibrating edge of a massive history. You begin to perceive the long-term consequences of trivial actions. You see how a single sentence spoken today can echo through a decade of a person's life. This intelligence allows you to move with a terrifying precision. You stop reacting to the noise of the moment and start playing a game that won't end for 20 years. You are no longer a player on the board. You are beginning to understand the mechanics of the board itself. But the more you see the long game, the harder it is to care about the short-term rewards that drive everyone else. Fame, money, and status begin to look like toys left in the rain. The 7th level is architectural empathy. This isn't the soft empathy of feeling bad for someone. It is the cold, structural empathy of understanding exactly how their reality was built. You can step into another person's mind, walk through their traumas, and see the logical necessity of their failures. You see that no one is truly a villain in their own story. They are just prisoners of their own limited intelligence. This realization strips away your anger, replacing it with a heavy, quiet exhaustion. You see the tragedy of the human condition. A world of 8 billion people, all trapped in beautiful, terrifying labyrinths of their own making, shouting at the walls. In the 8th level, systemic negation, you turn that architectural eye back on yourself. You realize that even your rebellion against the script was part of the script. The system accounts for dissent. It profits from it. You recognize that the very language you use to think is a cage built by ancestors who didn't know you. You begin to strip away words, concepts, and even the sense of I. This is the internal collapse reaching its basement. You are no longer a thinker. You are a space where thoughts happen. The ego, that loud and demanding pawn, is finally silenced. What remains is a raw, unmediated contact with reality that most people would find unbearable. The 9th level, recursive sovereignty, is the point of no return. You have seen the bottom of the well, and you have realized that the well is you. At this level, you begin to rewrite the code. You don't adopt new beliefs. You create new frameworks of existence. You understand that meaning isn't something you find. It's something you impose on a chaotic universe through sheer force of will. This is the intelligence of the master, the one who can walk through the world of pawns, speak their language, and play their games, while remaining entirely untouched by their illusions. You are in the world, but the world is no longer in you. The 10th and final level is the silent inevitability. It is not a peak, but a return. You come back to the surface, back to the mundane world of grocery stores and morning commutes, but you are different. You see that the thinker and the pawn are not two different types of people, but two different directions of the same soul. Every person you pass is a version of you that didn't wake up, and every version of you is a version of them that did. The intelligence you've gained hasn't made you happy. It hasn't made you rich or powerful in the ways you once desired. Instead, it has made you responsible. You realize that you cannot unsee the wires. You cannot go back to the warm, suffocating sleep of the 1st level. You are condemned to be awake in a world that is largely dreaming. As you look around your life now, you see the remnants of the person you used to be, the furniture of a life lived by proxy. The door to the old world is still there, but it no longer fits the frame. You are standing in the threshold, watching the shadows dance on the wall, knowing that the only way forward is deeper into the light that burns. The path isn't a ladder you climb once. It's a cycle you must survive every single day. The question isn't whether you can reach the 10th level. The question is whether you can live with what you find there. The world is waiting for you to decide who is actually in control of the hand that moves the piece.